And hello everybody, welcome back to the channel guys. We do have a major update with regard to the Huntingdon train attack. Of course, yesterday, as everybody knows by now, there was a bloody knife rampage in a train, an LNER train that was heading into London. And of course, we've seen 10 people hospitalised. This morning, the update was that 9 of those individuals had life-threatening injuries. We've got an update with regard to those injuries, and we've also got a police statement now coming out with the identities and, of course, ruling out a certain motive, so to speak. 16 hours later, 14 hours later, or whatever it may be. Remember, if you just look at certain situations, whether I always think back to Liverpool's trophy parade. Within that an hour of that ramming attack, we found out it was a white guy. Simple, straight away. However, you'll see in a minute why, of course, details have been withheld and whatnot. But guys, we are going to provide you with an update. We're going to go through what the police have stated as they've revealed the identities of these individuals and go through this potential motives or whatnot. But guys, as always, please do hit the like button, subscribe to the channel and get involved in the live chat. So, as stated, here we go. So, literally a little while ago, we got this update from the police, and they essentially came out and said that a 32-year-old black British male and a 35-year-old British national of Caribbean descent have been arrested on suspicion of attempted murder. 2 people remain in life-threatening condition in hospital, and the police are not currently deeming this as terror-related. Not terror-related.
Okay, good morning ladies and gentlemen. My name is Superintendent John Lovelace and I'm here to provide you with an update on the incident at Huntingdon Station that took place here last night. It's a shocking incident, and first and foremost, my thoughts are with the family and friends of those who've been affected and those who are injured. At approximately 7:42 p.m. yesterday evening, there were calls to the police service in relation to multiple stabbings which took place on board a train service that departed Doncaster at 6:25 p.m. and was en route to London King's Cross Station. Officers immediately attended Huntingdon Station alongside paramedics, where armed police officers from Cambridgeshire Police boarded the train and arrested 2 people. Within 8 minutes of the 999 call being made, 2 men were brought into police custody, where they remain this morning. I can tell you that these are the first male, a 32-year-old male, a black British national, and a 35-year-old man, a British national of Caribbean descent. They were both arrested on suspicion of attempted murder. Both were born in the United Kingdom. As stated, they remain this morning in separate police stations for questioning. 10 people were taken to hospital by ambulance, and another person self-presented later that evening. While 9 were initially believed to have life-threatening injuries, following assessment and treatment, 4, thankful to say, have been discharged. However, 2 patients remain in a life-threatening condition. British Transport Police declared a major incident yesterday, and counter-terrorism policing were initially supporting our investigation. However, at this stage, there is nothing to suggest that this is a terrorist incident. This is a British Transport Police investigation, and we continue to work to establish at pace the full circumstances and the motivations that have led to this incident. At this early stage, it would not be appropriate to speculate on the cause of this incident.
I'm really confused by this, these kind of statements. He said, well, there's nothing to suggest that this is a terrorist attack, but then goes, now we're investigating to try and understand what the motives are. Right, simple, okay. So what colour were these victims? We've seen a situation in the United States with Irina Zaruska, if you remember, where she was a white Ukrainian sort of refugee that was on a train in Charlotte. And then she was just stabbed. And of course, this was a racial attack from an individual where he just stabbed her and said, "Oh, I've got that white girl." We need a little bit more information here from the police. They've already took us 14 hours. Obviously, didn't release their identity straight away. And now all that they've got to so far is that it's not a terrorist attack. And that's it. You know, with everything else, when it came to sort of Liverpool, when it was the sort of white guy, we found out everything within 20 minutes, essentially, of it happening. But yeah, I mean, look, people are of course going to be very, very confused by this update, because why does two individuals go onto a train and wreak terror, run around stabbing people? 10 people, well, more than 10 people. 9 people were in life-threatening conditions, and I'm really glad to hear the update with regard to those victims, that there's only 2 now that are in a life-threatening situation. So my prayers are currently with them, and this could have been a whole lot worse. But still, the United Kingdom only takes action when, well, they don't take action at all. But it's only, you know, thoughts and prayers with the deceased. You know, when someone gets killed, oh, it's tragic, then maybe we're going to start ramping things up. But we've seen this sort of stuff bubbling within the United Kingdom just over the last month. But as we're seeing here, how can 2 men on a train attempting mass murder not be terrorism? Have the government interfered with this? My weekly commute is now wondering if I'll make it home to see my wife and kids. If that's not terror, what is it? So what constitutes as a terror attack? Are we talking about, oh, well, it's not Islamic? You know, is that what they're trying to say here? They didn't, you know, shout Alan Snack Bar. Is that what they're saying here? I mean, there's a lot of unanswered questions. I mean, it comes down to one thing. Now, on the way to London, you can have gang violence, but what it looks like, it was innocent people that were on the train. So it looks like an attack to cause terror, and there must have been some sort of motive, because I really find it hard to believe when someone comes onto a train with a knife and stabs people at random, 10 people at random, or more than 10 people at random, trying to kill them. That's not trying to inflict terror. I really don't understand it, because the whole thing with Axel Rudabukana as well, that was deemed as, at first, not terror related, because it didn't necessarily have an ideology. And then they wanted, in the UK, they wanted to make lone attacks its own separate thing, so they could try and keep it away from terrorism, so to speak. But a lone attack, you know, they were saying sort of Axel for a long time was a lone wolf, lone perpetrator. But that's still inflicting terror, in my personal opinion. So yeah, a lot of things don't really add up, in all honesty. Let's try and get some more reaction from other people here. I mean, Dan earlier on today was saying 15 hours since the Huntingdon train attack. Nothing from Prime Minister, Justice Secretary or Home Secretary other than the usual platitudes. No information about whether he has been subjected to another terror attack, but a lecture not to speculate. This is sick. Obviously, now we have got that update since he put that post out. But let's have a little listen to this individual where he may be able to explain what actually went on there. An eyewitness.
And then I was in Coach H. I was literally just listening to Audible on my phone. And then I had guys suddenly run past going, run. There's a guy stabbing literally everyone, everything. There was a few of us kind of looking at each other like thinking it was a joke, like it's Halloween, I'll be pranking. But then you could kind of see in their faces they were being serious. I kind of got my stuff and I was running and everyone was really pushing behind us, really panicking. And at this point, I was kind of asking questions like, what's happening? Like, who is it? And they were like, a guy's just stabbing everyone back there. Put my hand on this chair, like just trying to push myself forward. And then I look at my hand and it's covered in blood. And then I look at the chair and there's blood all over the chair. And I'm thinking, okay, this is pretty serious. So some of the guys that had ran through to kind of alert us to run, they were the ones who had also been stabbed. So we're running over and getting to the edge of the carriage, still trying to work out who is it, you know, what's their intentions, what's their motives. I just knew they were stabbing everyone, and someone kind of said they thought they had a gun, pulled the emergency alarm and just trying to work out, can we barricade the doors, can we lock the doors, but we couldn't really. And then by the time I got to the end of the carriage, I realised I was actually at the back of it, and there was about 6 of us. There was a girl, bless her, who was really, really in a bit of a state because the guy had actually tried to stab her, and one of the older guys was an absolute hero, blocked it with his head, and he's got this like gash. He had this gash on his head. He's got I think a gash on his neck, and he's kind of we're kind of giving him like our jackets to keep the pressure on the blood. And while we're doing that, there's a person that I know, and he's kind of looked at me and gone like, "Have you got anything we can use in case he comes through?"
There's at least 10 ambulances, 12 ambulances.
We had a Jack Daniels bottle between us, and that was it. So we're kind of sitting there with one Jack Daniels bottle, just looking down the end of this carriage, just praying somebody doesn't walk down with a knife, with a gun. We didn't really know what was going on.
How horrific. I mean, look, by the look of the witness accounts here, it was just random. He was hitting random people. You know, something just smells a little bit fishy. And again, we're not allowed to speculate these days. We're always, delayed in terms of information and whatnot. And again, it will probably come out as some mental health lunatic guy that, was a lone wolf, etc., etc. It'll probably be like that, so to speak. Again, we've already heard loads of those sorts of situations. But remember the legislation that was brought out during the time Axel Rudabakana was going on trial. They were coming out and saying that they want to sort of reinvent what terrorism actually is, because they do feel the threat of lone wolf attacks are different to terrorism, so to speak. So, it's kind of the same. It's, blurry lines. There's a grey area. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's something like that. So basically terrorism, but actually not officially terrorism under the UK government sort of law. Anywhere else, it probably would have been deemed as a terror attack. But again, we've got some, it's a real grey area when it comes to them implementing new laws. But whoever that old guy is, there's a hero there. There's a hero in times of place. Guys, I see a lot of comments on on my channel and said, where's the guys at? Where are the men at? Who's going to protect? And, credit where credit's due there. That's a story, a really heroic account of this older gentleman that put his own face in the firing line to protect a young girl. So credit to him. There is men. There's a lot of men, and they're willing to lay down their life, so to speak, to protect the people and the vulnerable of this country. So a really lovely story to hear there, coming out of an absolute horrific and terrorizing account here on this train. I mean, this is given me flashbacks to Arena. Now, Arena, of course, this left me shook for weeks. Seeing this CCTV footage, it makes me sick seeing that still to this day. But as stated, the UK government, the UK police are going to have to release the footage. We're going to have to see it with our own eyes to understand what actually went on here. I would need to see that. I really do need to see that. But we know the identity for those of you that are tuning in. And as you can see, a lot of the sort of rags, so to speak, were going with the sort of train sort of terror attack situation, as it was being called. But yeah, it's absolutely horrific. It really is. That's kind of what we got. I understand what the BBC is saying. I don't really want to give them the time of day, to be fair. But guys, do get into the live chat. I do want to know your thoughts in a moment. I'm going to get over to the live chat in a second. But as we're seeing, for those of you just tuning in, it's being deemed as not a terror attack, of course. And only 2 people now from the 9 that were in a life-threatening condition are in a life-threatening condition. So again, a bit of light at the end of it, but there's still 2 we need to pray for, and hopefully they make amend. But yeah, there's still a lot more questions to be answered with regard to this situation. There's still a lot more that we need to know, and CCTV footage would go a long way in showing us that. We need to see the footage. They need to release the footage as they did in Charlotte, for Arena, so we can really see what's gone on, and we can also make an assessment on what's going on. So they're saying no terrorism, but again, I just want to point out to you with regard to the new sort of legislation that they brought in about this time last year with regard to lone wolf attacks, loners or whatever it's called. It's different, but it's kind of the same, but different. It's not officially terrorism. Read up on it. Let's get into the live chat, guys. Let's see what people are saying. It's been a little while since I was live, actually. I've been doing a lot of videos, but haven't been live. But I hope you are all well. Big shout out to No Comment, becomes a British patriot. Thank you so much for becoming a member, buddy. That's a good point. They aren't saying the descent of the first man on purpose. Firstly, they just said, they were very quick to say British born. And then they identified one individual as Caribbean descent. Well, what about the descent of the other individual? We need to know. There's still so much answers that we need to see. Hello, how are you? I hope you're well. Thank you, Sharon. So the people on that train weren't terrorized. Exactly. The understanding and the legislation when it comes to terror attacks and what terrorism constitutes in the United Kingdom is a very, very grey area. It really is. Another thing that hasn't been disclosed yet. Now, what they want you to believe right now, again, we can't speculate on such things, but if you think about the Caribbean, it is usually a heavily Christian sort of part of the world, so to speak. So I suppose they're going into that route, but again, they haven't released enough information as of yet. It's already a little too late compared to other attacks and things that we've seen and situations that we've seen. If it were to be a different person, a different perpetrator, we would have had more information right at the time. 14 hours later, it took for us to get the identities of these individuals, and then for them not to say that it was terrorism related, but still saying that they're still trying to work out the motives of such attack. So we'll have to see. But I suppose they can't blame the far right for this one, I suppose. Margaret says it's caused the passengers on the train terror. It's caused the victims terror. How many people will be put off public transport in fear of their safety? So sorry, Mr. Policeman, it's terror related. Again, I don't want to sound like I'm repeating myself, but if you read into that sort of legislation that they've brought in, it is a grey area on the way that they deem a terror. And you're absolutely correct. They have terrorized people and places, and it is going to put people off of public transport. Because funnily enough, shortly after the whole Irina Zaruska situation, I was very aware and acutely aware of my own surroundings. I've always been a very aware person, whether it be sort of oncoming traffic, and if I'm walking on the side of the road, that kind of thing. I've always been very aware, and when getting onto sort of subways, I'm always back to the door with having no one behind me, so to speak. Spent a lot of time in Paris recently, and that was, the situation which I did. But especially after the Irina Zaruska thing, I never even thought about it, because I actually got that train, the LNER train, up towards Doncaster in Yorkshire. And I was always concerned about maybe the London Underground or a subway. But I never really thought about just a train. It's happening everywhere. And that would have caught a lot of people off guard, and it's going to certainly make a lot of people scared, frightened, not being able to take public transport because they don't feel safe, that some maniac's just going to come through and stab them up. There's a lot of things that need to be dealt with. Femris says this will happen all over again and forever. It's nothing done to stop it. It won't just go away. Well, on this occasion, as they say, people seem to think that, we always, people are trying to think that the right always trying to look to blame illegal migrants, so to speak. And no, that's not always the case. That's just the closest crocodile to the canoe to try and secure safety, not allowing unvetted men into the country. However, there's a lot of reform that needs to go into the UK. And illegal immigration, yes, is the closest crocodile to the canoe, because they're unvetted, we don't know who they are. But the state of the country and the culture, so to speak, of some individuals that reside here is archaic, it's mental, it really is. We're seeing London, it's absolutely rife with stabbings, whether it's the gang culture and whatnot. Sometimes this might seem like overkill, but the UK may actually need something like the El Salvador president did. and literally clean the country. El Salvador went from the murder capital of the Americas to one of the safest countries in the world, with massive reform, with a leader that was able to clean the place up. And the UK actually does need to go through that, maybe not at an extreme level as El Salvador, but the UK does need to go through some kind of reform in that area. And whilst, yes, illegal immigration is the closest crocodile, but that then needs to come afterwards, because the country is unsafe. And yes, they're right. It's not all caused by illegal migrants. It's also caused by people that have resided here for many years as well. And you could say, but it's the culture. Things need to change pretty quickly in the UK. And if you're voting on the sort of London mayor, Ant Middleton is a certain individual that, seems as though that he will clean up the city in that kind of way to try and eradicate knife crime at that point. It's crazy. It really is. I really dislike it. Oh, for the days of a bank job when we all understood the crime. It seems as though, by the way, this kind of stuff's still ongoing. Robberies and all of these things that you used to hear about, that used to make front page news, it's still a thing that goes, it still happens. But it doesn't get any spotlight put onto it because there's just far more crazier and horrific things that are happening. I mean, just this month, what we talked about already, just this month, over the last 28 days, so to speak. This, mass stabbing on a train, some Afghan lunatics stabbing 3 people and killing 1 guy, and then a synagogue terrorist attack. This is all in the space of 28 days. These are high-profile attacks. And, they're the ones that have been in the sort of public domain, which is already far too much. But if you just type in stabbing, London, you'll see the other ones that never made the front page. So, yeah. Alex the Monster was a Islamist with terror manuals, yet people will say not terror. Exactly. And I find myself keep on repeating myself. Read the legislation with this lone wolf, so to speak. It sounds like terrorism, but it's not terrorism because they can't actually identify it as being terrorism. It's a really cloudy area, but it's tactical. It's very, very tactical to protect their voters. A £2 donation. No information disclosed with regard to that as of yet. Just the nationalities of the individuals and the police saying that it wasn't terror related and that they're still trying to work out the motive. Yeah, try and make sense of those two. And that the 9 initial people that were in a life-threatening condition, it's gone down to 2. No fatalities as of yet. So I'm touching wood and hoping and praying. But thank you so much for your donation. You're very, very generous. It's very sad because I've always wanted to visit the UK and understand my British roots. I mean, still come over. Just it's like anywhere really in the world. It's like just have your due diligence. You kind of it's not you're not going to get down there. It's the Wild West. It's not the Wild West, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, it's not crazy like wherever you go you're just going to get shot up and stabbed. It's not that extreme, but you just got to have your due diligence. It's not something where people would have thought about sort of 10, 15 years ago that there could be a possibility of something happening. There could be a possibility. But nowadays you have to live with this could happen. And that's not the way you should be living. Or certainly that's not the way Britain was or should be as a society. Where you think, I could get shanked up on a train. But yeah, if you still want to go to the UK, you can still go to the UK. And as I said, it's not the Wild West as such. You're not going to step off the plane and get shanked unless you're extremely unlucky. Rangers 2-0. I bloody hope so. I hope so. I'm depressed. I mean, I'm depressed reporting on this news. I get depressed watching football and depressed doing every other thing. So yeah, I hope so. I hope so. I mean, I wouldn't hold my breath. I've stopped having getting excited. Well, I'm always Old Firm Day. Of course, I'm excited, but I don't have any expectation, especially this season. But if Rangers get to the final, I'll be absolutely buzzing. Of course, I will. I'll love it. I will be watching it as well. Yo, Amaguchi. Anyone coming to the UK as a tourist needs to rethink their holiday choices. Go to Poland. It's beautiful and safe. I like Poland. Poland's good. I enjoyed my time in Krakow, actually. I think I was there for 6 weeks. Summer 2024, I think. Yeah, for a month. I was out there doing a bit of work. Loved it. Really, really did love it. Felt real. There's one notable difference that you'll see there very, very quickly when you arrive in Poland. But I used to find it quite ironic because there was a lot of people that used to come when I was a kid. There was a lot of, we used to have like a lot of Polish migrants that came over to the UK for sort of opportunity, so to speak. Now, probably all going back because they feel a lot safer within their own country. But yes, it was a really weird dynamic at that time. They went there to feel safer in the UK, have opportunities, and then now they're just going back there because their country is like amazing. The Poles and the Hungarians have the right attitudes to immigration. Well, they just protect their culture. They do a lot of that. I like that. And again, they'll try and demonize them, but they want to protect their culture. They want to protect their people. So, yeah. But ladies and gentlemen, that's enough for this one. Just to conclude, for those of you just tuning in, police have said it's not terror-related. 2 black British-born or British nationals, one of those being Caribbean descent, have been arrested on the suspicion of attempted murder. The 9 individuals that were in a life-threatening condition this morning, that toll is now down to 2. Still no fatalities. And that is the latest update that we've got. I will be keeping you up to date with this story. And the police have stated that they're trying to work out the motive of the individuals, but said it's not terror related. So, yeah, do subscribe, hit the like button, and we will update you if it does any more news emerges with regard to the story. Thank you for tuning in. Hit like, hit subscribe, and I'll see you all later. Not without, of course, giving a shout out to this super chat. I got you just in time there, buddy. I got you just in time because I've done it before, where I've pressed end stream and then I've seen a super chat pop through. So if I've ever done that to you, I apologize. I would never, ever do that. Memphis says, I knew it, football. Maybe it's about time men out there stop focusing on bloody football. Well, I do have hobbies as well. Like many people watch a film. I mean, I'm not, well, I am a little bit. I love football. But, yeah, I don't watch every single game that's on the television. I watch a team. It's only 90 minutes a day. If you support a team like Rangers, you quickly, especially after the last few years, you quickly have to find a way of not being emotionally attached because they let you down every single week. So I've quickly become less emotionally attached. Whereas once it would have ruined my weekend, now I'm just like, yeah, whatever. So, yeah, I don't like that my reality has got to that, but that's just kind of how it is, depending on what team you support.